Hello, my lovely friends, and welcome to what we are doing today. So, as you all know, yesterday we started learning about an amazing man named Langston Hughes, and we learned about his life and read some of his poems. We read I Too together, and then we read Dreams individually. Today, we are actually going to read one of his short stories. This short story is located in your e-textbook. And after we're done watching this video, I will direct you to go to your e-textbook and complete some activities. But right now, what we're going to be doing is just going over some stuff in the e-textbook, and I'm also going to read the story out loud to you all so that you can hear it being read, but also look at it too as I'm reading and follow along. So as you can see my screen here, I am in the e-textbook, and you all will get there after this video. And we have the title, Thank You, Ma'am, a short story by Langston Hughes. Now, before anybody says anything or notices, ma'am is spelled a little bit differently than we spell it today, but back in Langston Hughes' time, this was how it was spelled. So it's not a typo. For him, that is how he spelled it. So just want to clear that up. And we're going to just scroll down, and oh my gosh, there's the man himself, Langston Hughes. Again, we learned about him yesterday, but here's the little bio of him that the textbook is providing for us. And here is the beginning of the story. Before we get to the beginning of the story, though, to read it, I just want to go over the things that we're going to be looking at in the story. So as I'm reading it, and you all will read it individually to yourselves after, you kind of know what's going down and you know what to look for. So in Thank You, Ma'am, we are going to be looking at three things. So three different elements of the story. The first element that we're going to look at is the characters. This story features two really strong character leads, and that's about it. There's no other characters other than the two main people. So we are definitely going to talk about the characters and how they're different, how they're similar, and also their character traits. So remember, when we say character traits, we are talking about the things that make that character seem like a real person. So not only like what they look like and how old they are, but also their personality, how they act, how they talk, what they think, how they feel. So we are going to be looking at those character traits, and that's also called characterization. So when you see that big word, that's what we're talking about. And you can also kind of, tell that if you kind of forget one day, because the word character is in characterization. So that's a little hint for you. So again, the characters in a short story are the people, animals, or imaginary creatures that take part in the action. Characterization is the way that the author develops a character by, and here's a little list, something I just mentioned. The comments about the character's physical appearance, how they talk, their thoughts, their actions, and things like that. So we will definitely be looking at that in this story. And as it says too, as you read Thank You, Ma'am, analyze how the character's traits influence events and affect the resolution of conflict by thinking about the character's words, actions, thoughts, appearance, and interaction with other characters. So in conclusion, pay attention to the characters. They're going to be important. We are also going to be analyzing elements of the actual story, so the things that happen. We are going to specifically be looking at the setting of the story and the conflict. So remember, the setting is where the story takes place, not only the physical location where the characters are, but also the year. That's something that some people forget about with setting. They just think of like the place the characters are. It's also the time period, the date, the year, even the time of day that it's occurring. And finally, we're going to be looking at conflict too. So what is the problems that are happening in the story? Here's a little hint for you. Every single story, movie, comic book, TV show, there has to be some type of problem that the characters are facing. Because without a problem, it's kind of boring. So we're going to look at the problem in the story as well. You can see here as I scroll down on my screen that there's this nice little chart. This is actually what you all will be completing individually after we read the story. So here you go. You can see that your assignment for the day is going to be to type in these little boxes, the setting, where and when, like we just said, the characters, problem, the events, and the outcome / the resolution. Basically what happens at the end of the story. Okay, now that we are finished talking about all the stuff that we need to know before the story, let's read this thing, right? So we're going to scroll on down. You will notice as we use the textbook more and, read more stuff from it, there's going to be these signs called notice and note. These are just little things that are inserted throughout the story. So you can see here that I have my first paragraph labeled with a nice little 1 here. And then before I get to the second paragraph, there is this notice and note as well. Sometimes I will tell you to stop when you see these and to do what it's saying. Sometimes I'm just going to tell you to skip it. For this story, we're just going to skip it this time. In the future, we may stop and answer these questions. Alrighty, let's start, shall we? So, Thank You, Ma'am by Langston Hughes. She was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and she was walking alone, when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with a single tug the boy gave it from behind. But the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance, so instead of taking off full blast as he had hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around and kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then he reached down, picked up the boy by his shirt front, and shook him until his teeth rattled. Oh, man. After that, the woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here." She still held him, but she bent down enough to permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Firmly gripped by his shirt front, the boy said, "Yes, ma'am." The woman said, "What did you want to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You a lie." By that time, 2 or 3 people passed, stopped, turned to look, and some stood watching. "If I turn you loose, will you run?" asked the woman. "Yes, ma'am," said the boy. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman, and she did not release him. So we have our 2 characters, as we can see, the woman and the boy. The boy, in case you've gotten a little lost, just tried to rob this woman, just tried to run up behind her, grab her purse, keep on running, and eventually, get the money and some of the things that were in her purse. But instead of actually successfully doing that, what happened? The woman actually was able to grab the boy so that he wasn't successful in taking her purse. And now she literally has him by the shirt front, is gripping the front of his shirt and is not going to let him go. So already we can see some conflicts that are occurring. Let's see what happens next. "I'm very sorry, lady. I'm sorry," whispered the boy. "Mm-hmm. And your face is dirty. I got a mind to wash your face for you. Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?" "No, ma'am," said the boy. "Then it will get washed this evening," said the large woman, starting up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind her. He looked as if he was 14 or 15, frail, willow-wild, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I would teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No, ma'am," said the being dragged boy. "I just want you to turn me loose." "Well, was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No, ma'am." "But you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman. "If you think that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thought coming. When I get through to you, sir, you are going to remember Miss Luella Bates, Washington Jones." So we just found out her name. We can just call her Miss Jones because she has a pretty long name. And what is her intentions with the boy? We don't know yet, but she's not letting him go. She is determined to teach him a lesson. Sweat popped out on the boy's face, and he began to struggle. Miss Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, put a half Nelson around his neck, and continued to drag him up the street. When she got to her door, she dragged the boy inside, down a hall into a large kitchenette furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in the large house. Some of the doors were open too, so he knew he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by the neck in the middle of the room. She said, "What is your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. "Then, Roger, you go to that sink and wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose at last. Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and went to the sink. So now they're actually in her home, and she has finally released him and told him to go wash his face, because apparently his face is dirty. And what is Roger thinking about doing when he's like, thinking about making a run for it, but he decided right here at the end that he just went to the sink. He sees, and we probably see too, that Miss Jones is really not a woman to mess with, and he's not even going to risk trying to get loose and run away, because he knows that he probably is not going to be successful. "Let the water run until it gets warm," she said. "Here's a clean towel." "You gonna take me to jail?" asked the boy, bending over the sink. "Not with that face. I would not take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am, trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook. Maybe you ain't been to your supper either, late as it is. Have you?" "There's nobody home at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat," said the woman. "I believe you're hungry, or been hungry, to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes," said the boy. So this is important, and you can kind of see the picture here. So if you didn't know, suede is a type of fabric. And in our textbook, whenever there's like a blue word here, if you click it, it'll actually like tell you what that word means. So that's cool. But the boy is saying that he's trying to steal her money because he wants this pair of shoes. Although blue suede shoes may not be the fashion today, shoes in general are very fashionable. I'm sure you all have some shoes that you're really proud of, or a pair of shoes that you really want. So he admits that he wasn't really trying to steal the money to get food. He was trying to steal her money because he really wanted a specific pair of shoes, and blue suede shoes at the time would be pretty expensive. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get some suede shoes," said Miss Luella Bates Washington Jones. "You could have just asked me." "Ma'am?" The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face and not knowing what else to do, dried it again, the boy turned around, wondering what next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while, she said, "I were young once and wanted things I could not get." There was another pause. The boy's mouth opened. Then he frowned, but not knowing he frowned. The woman said, "Mm-hmm. You thought I was going to say but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks." "Well, I wasn't going to say that." Pause. Silence. "I have done things too, which I would not tell you, son. Neither tell God if he didn't already know. So you set down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you will look presentable." In another corner of the room behind a screen was a gas plate and an ice box. Miss Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which was left behind her on the daybed. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room where he thought she could easily see him out the corner of her eye if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. So in this instance, we see Miss Jones kind of tells us that one of the reasons why she didn't just take Roger to the police and tell the police, like, this man tried to rob me, like, he has to be punished. One of the reasons why she didn't do that is because she hints that when she was a young girl, she might have done a similar thing, and she might have also tried to steal from people as well. So Roger finally understands that this woman is kind of trying to help him and that she's been where he is now. So when Miss Jones gets up to start making dinner for them, she doesn't make sure Roger comes with her. She lets Roger sit in the room alone, and Roger has to make the decision for himself whether or not he wants to stay there with her or whether now he wants to run. But this last line says, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. So that shows that Roger doesn't want Miss Jones to mistrust him. Roger wants her to trust him and wants to, make a good impression on her now. Do you need somebody to go to the store? Asked the boy. Maybe get some milk or something? Don't believe I do, said the woman, unless you just want sweet milk yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here. That'll be fine, said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived, or his folks, or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. Eat some more, son, she said. When they were finished eating, she got up and said, now, here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, do not make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook, nor nobody else's, because shoes come by the devilish like that will burn your feet. I got to get some rest now, but I wish you would behave yourself, son, from here on in. She led him down the hall to the front door and opened it. Good night. Behave yourself, boy, she said, looking out into the street. The end. So we see that the conclusion, the ending of our story, is that her and Roger actually sat down, had a very nice dinner. She gave him extra food because she could probably see that he was hungry and may not have a good home life. He kind of mentions that in the story. He admits no, I don't have any parents at home. So she can see that, he may not be treated well at home and he may not be getting fed. So they sit down, have a nice dinner. And then in the end, what does Miss Jones do? She ends up giving him the money anyway that he needs to buy the shoes. And she tells him too, and warns him at the end here, don't go trying to pull this again. Don't go trying to steal somebody else's purses, not mine or another woman's, to get something you want. And she gives him the money. She also gives him this life lesson and then leads him out the door and tells him to have a good night. So that is the story. Thank you, ma'am. After we're done watching this video, I will tell you guys the rest of the instructions for the day. Thank you.